3, 2, 1. I still know Kung Fu. Is that the line that Alex just watched the trailer fresh? We're Sardonicast. That was from the new trailer from the Matrix, and I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. Hello.
I'm Ralph from The Matrix.
I'm Neo over here. I Neo everything. Yeah, God. Official trailer 2 for The Matrix, what's it called? Resurrections.
Is that what I keep forgetting what it's called?
Yeah, I keep forgetting what it's called too, because they've gone through all the big R words.
The Matrix, let's get it started.
Oh, dude.
They're going to say let's get the R word, but that was offensive, so.
Not exciting?
What do you mean? It's the most exciting thing ever. I'm so hyped. This looks like one of the classic Wachowski dumpster fires. I am so excited for this movies. Mm-hmm. This movies.
This is only one Wachowski though, right? This is just...
I know. It doesn't even matter. I don't care. It looks hilarious.
I was asking you before, Adam. You said you were really excited for this. I'm like, is that ironic enjoyment? Because this is it looks very schlocky.
It looks so funny. It looks hilarious. I'm so excited for this. Just when you thought that they couldn't take the franchise any lower, they're like, we've got it. We got an idea. We can do this.
They got Keanu Reeves.
Do they have an idea?
That's cool.
The idea is just they'll probably retcon everything.
Because
why are they alive?
It was wrapped up pretty clean. I don't actually understand the context of the trailer really at all, because they kind of wrapped up the conflict, and now they've reset it as a mystery, just because I guess the nostalgia of the Matrix, and they want Keanu in another one of these.
Remember the Matrix?
Movies.
It is one of the most...
It goes beyond just Member the Matrix, because it's using a bunch of the exact same scenes and imagery in a way that is clearly trying to remind you of that original movie, but none of it looks as stylish or as
Oh, of course.
Inventive.
It looks
as
horrific.
It looks really fucking terrible. Yeah.
What I'm confused about is what is this magical person that needs to be reminded of those specific scenes in such an obtuse and obvious way, right? What is this person, right? Because if you're watching this new Matrix movie, it's because you already are familiar with the Matrix. You have some sort of nostalgia for it. Mm-hmm. Why would the trailer explicitly need to spell it out to the point where they're literally showing clips and they have old footage projected on a curtain or something? And it's you can't just have the characters say the line. You have to have them say the line and then show the clip of the first movie where they said the line. It's what is this person that needs that? If you haven't seen The Matrix, then you're not a part of the target demographic because you're not being influenced by the nostalgia anyway. So who is this magical person where they need it that spelled out? What?
It's the nostalgia era, man. It's just the new one. It's the new Matrix. Even though most of the Matrix movies are bad.
Most
are people
of them
excited for this? I don't understand.
Check the comments, man.
It gets 40 million.
The comments.
Yeah, the comments are full of hype for it.
Yeah.
They just want to see Matrix fights again.
The trailer has no dislikes.
Damn. Oh, the one I went on a different one.
YouTube
and
changed their dislike system. Yeah. I hate to break it to you guys. YouTube, they got rid of those.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea.
It's the best idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea, right?
Mm-hmm. I was looking for how to
YouTube is full of great ideas.
I was looking for how to install some programs. I'm I don't know if this is a virus or not anymore.
yeah. A helpful tutorial, forget about it.
No.
You don't know if it's good or not.
Yeah, exactly. Really helping everybody out.
Yeah. So I get the Matrix appeal. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I liked it, but it's probably one of the greatest, most important science fiction movies ever.
Yeah.
So they don't just want to throw that away. But yeah, the movie looks dumb.
It looks horrific, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, it does look. It just looks kind of dumb, and like you were saying, the references, it's a little too much, and it's just the trailer, and already they're throwing everything at you. You hear Mr. Anderson, you hear all that stuff. It's
all
just
of the acting looks bad too.
Oh,
kind of. I like those actors. Who's the guy from Mindhunter? He's he plays
the new
that
Smith
part,
agent
the
guy.
bad guy. Yeah, I like that actor. I just don't think that original part is very iconic. Played by
Hugo.
Blanking on his name now. Yeah, Hugo Weaving. He does a great job as that part. I think.
Oh yeah, you can't replace him. It's embarrassing. It's like Saw Spiral replacing Tobin Bell. I'm going to play a game, mister.
You can't really replace Morpheus either. Like the fact they didn't bring Morpheus in.
Lawrence.
Yeah, and what is the reason for that? Like, what
It
actually
is
is
weird.
that?
Yeah, you might as well replace
some
Neo
deep
and
lore
Trinity.
thing? Yeah, because I was trying to figure this out and was looking through comments when that first trailer dropped because I was confused by this. And yeah, people in the comments were saying like, oh, in some spin-off lore thing, he's like killed or whatever. So we're going into like extra curricular activities to even understand the jumping off point. And it's like, man, this stuff is already like a parody of itself at this point. Like The Matrix is one of the most joked about kind of like movies in like pop culture. Like, how do you make a new one? They couldn't even make 2 sequels to the first one that were like of the same quality.
It was so iconic that it got like parodied.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
like
in this
we watched
trailer
Shrek.
too, there's a bit
Shrek
of this like
references.
tease of kind of meta commentary, maybe, of like how they're going to address or explain why they're doing it all again. I'm super curious how they're going to try to explain this or justify why it deserves a new inclusion. But
It's going to be dumb.
Man, it's going to be dumb. I think that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited. Jupiter Ascending was so funny.
That was funny.
That was a really funny
that
movie.
was shockingly bad.
I don't know if it'll be like that, but
Yeah,
it could
I
be.
think it'll be worse.
It could be.
I think it'll be worse.
You think it would be worse than Jupiter Ascending?
They showed us the best parts in the trailer. The trailer showed us the best parts of the movie.
And you know, Keanu Reeves.
And it all looks
Keanu
so
Reeves, I
bad.
really like him as a person. Not the most consistent actor,
No.
like in terms of his performances, right? Yeah. So, you know, in this movie, it could really go either way. He could either be okay or it could be really bad in terms of his acting.
I have some predictions from the trailer. I think he's going to do a bad job.
He's not like an actor I have confidence in, unless he's like John Wick or like something very simple. I don't know.
Yeah, they're pushing the martial arts in the same way, because that was always what he brought to those original movies, was just his martial arts skill and the kind of physicality he brings. I don't know. There's something inherently lost with the way they're presenting the whole digital world too. It looks so fake in a way that it doesn't seem to be intentional. But there is like a kind of grittiness to the original Matrix movie that seems to be totally lost in whatever they're trying here.
Man, I wonder why one of the Wachowskis didn't join on.
Yeah, maybe they could see how much of a bad idea it was.
Yeah.
After
Can
all
you
the
imagine,
attempts
like,
already?
One of them's just like, we've got to make another Matrix, and the other one's like, no, and they just do it anyway.
Like, why? No, do it by yourself. Yeah,
I own 50% of the IP. I'll just do it.
Yeah, just add it to the pile of like just bad nostalgia bait movies.
Oh, that's gonna be great.
I guess the tide has turned. Like, people want this now, whereas like when it was like Total Recall and stuff, like getting these weird remakes and reboots, it's encouraged now. People like it.
I mean, it's been long enough. People just wanted more Matrix shit, you know? People just...
Yeah, it's probably going to be huge.
I don't know. It's one of those universes, too, that's just fun to explore. I don't hate the Matrix sequels that exist, as I've mentioned already. Like, they're bad, they're cheesy, but I enjoy them, you know? Not only just nostalgic purposes, but also just being in the universe. They're making another Matrix game now, I think. There's going to be another Matrix video game to come out with this movie, pretty sure. Is what I heard.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It is a cool universe, but I feel like within the trilogy they kind of make an effort to wrap up the whole like conflict. So I'm just confused. Unless the story's set before the end point of that third movie, what is even left to explore, you know?
They should just do another Animatrix.
Mm-hmm. That was cool. That was like cool world building.
So much fun. Just fucking do that on Netflix. You know, you could have another Love, Death, Robots sort of thing. Just more Matrix shit. Why not?
Do that. Probably be better.
The Matrix Awakens is the game. I don't know when it comes out.
It's coming out soon.
I don't know. Apparently they revealed some stuff at the Gay Awards or something.
I see a trailer. Oh yeah, the Gay Awards.
You'd think that this would try to release around the same time as the movie, but I can't even find Awakens.
Movie tie-in games are always great.
Yeah, there's like a demo on Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, I can't find a release date for this video game. What the fuck? Okay, maybe it'll come out a year after the movie, and everybody will hate the movie. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, it looks a bit Uncanny Valley, but
It's going to be one of those weird things. I wonder if it's going to be one of those like really polarizing films. I wonder if half of the people are going to love it or something. Is this going to be the last Jedi of Matrix films?
Like, please don't say that. No, I don't know. It's like, yeah, but I guess I'm just so out of touch with the general Matrix opinions. If like people are fine with this to begin with, whereas I'm just more anti making a fourth Matrix movie to get with, you know.
Bring it on. Yeah. I get to watch it from home and laugh. I don't have to be in a theater. Thanks, HBO Max.
Yeah, thank God for that, at least.
Mm-hmm. It seems so kind of random. Like, why now? Why make another Matrix movie now? Like,
That's, yeah, the cynical side of it, where it's like Keanu's had this like second coming. It's like a good move if they want to make a bunch of cash. They've been like advertising it in other movies, like in Space Jam. They'll basically tease.
That's right.
It's like just such a valuable IP, I guess. They just want to milk it.
Yeah. Whatever. I'm just happy Carrie Ann Moss is getting work again. Like, what's she been up to? She was doing some voice acting, I think.
Man.
Did a bit of Mass
she was
Effect.
in Bye Man. Yeah, you're right.
Bye
Gay man.
Bye love. Bye. It's
Don't
so
think
bad,
it. Don't say it.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right. Red Notice was a stupid movie.
Oh, you want to get into Red Notice now?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. This was like the most successful movie fucking ever. Can
Oh,
we
was
start
it?
with that?
For Netflix?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I think it's like the most popular Netflix movie.
I could
It's
tell
like the most
before
popular
it was
Netflix
released.
movie. Yeah, for
Yeah, it
sure.
seems
One of the most
manufactured to
popular
be that
movies
way.
of the year.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's got some big stars on the poster.
The
Gal
Rock,
Gadot.
Deadpool, and Wonder Woman in a movie together for some reason.
Good way to say it. Because they're all big names.
Exactly. It doesn't matter
That's
what
why.
the movie
I mean,
is.
it doesn't really
They're
matter.
in it,
Right.
and that will determine its success.
The movie is just those stars on the poster, and you know that's like, I guess that's just the marketing. That's it. It's like, look at these stars. And,
They're in a movie together.
and people
now.
they really
They're not
watched
even
it.
playing
Like they actually,
They are playing themselves. Well, Ryan Reynolds is playing Deadpool.
Yeah.
The others are playing themselves, I guess. Yeah.
It's like the most bland movie.
Yeah, it's like a
imagine.
kind of Indiana Jones, like, lame adventure movie. Like, it was, what a bad title, too. Like, it really doesn't set the stage or, like, tone at all.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
tell you what it's about.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't imply adventure, like the kind of indie thing it's going for. And yeah, with the whole Ryan Reynolds Deadpool stuff, it really is like, it's not us like over exaggerating. His jokes are Deadpool jokes.
I know.
Like, making fun in that like meta way, like acknowledging like foreshadowing within the like dialogue and like just the same meta humor Deadpool does. It's really strange.
Yeah, it was the exact
He's really been
same
boxed into a corner.
jokes.
Like he just plays the same character in every movie. It's really weird. And the same with The Rock. It's like, I'm waiting for the reveal in one of these movies where like all these generic Rock action movies are some part of like a cinematic universe we don't know about yet. And that's how they explain it. Because like, dude, it's so generic. You've seen this like picture being shared around where it's like four shots from four different movies with The Rock in, and it's just
I'm in the
it's
jungle.
the same thing. It's just like generic guy in the jungle.
I haven't
like,
seen that. That's
action
really
man.
funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And it
You can't
is like
tell.
indistinguishable from your Jungle Cruises, the one with Kevin Hart in it.
Jumanji.
It's all like the same. Jumanji, yeah, it's all the same shit, and it's just like the most generic action stuff. Also with the Deadpool like humor, relying on loads of references, shoving in awkward celebrity cameos. Like Ed Sheeran shows up at the end, who does reference humor himself. The references are making references now because he's like, I was in Game of Thrones. It's like, oh my god,
Oh,
this
did
shit.
he literally say
This
that?
reference.
Oh my god!
Yes, he literally
I watched the
says
first
it.
half of this movie, and then I realized
Oh right,
I was wasting
yeah,
my
I forgot
time.
about that. Yeah.
Well, I skipped through it.
I wasn't paying
skipped
attention
through
much,
enough that I was like, "Oh, the Rock's back in the jungle again." Okay, and then I saw the ending, and I was like, oh, "Okay."
Yeah, because it's kind of built up to this twist moment. So spoilers for Red Notice, but it's like treated like a huge fucking reveal. The Rock is actually kind of the villain of the movie, working with Gal Gadot the whole time. And it's really like played up like, man, you're seeing something you've never seen before, right? The Rock playing a bad guy. It's like the whole thing in and of itself, right? It's just like, no. This is like the most generic adventure movie you've ever seen. Every single beat or cliche you can imagine from these types of movies. It probably does look better and is better than this Uncharted movie that is coming out, which is
don't say that.
Going for a similar thing. Dude, I bet you that Uncharted movie will be worse than this.
Really?
But that's not to say this is great.
Really?
I mean, the Uncharted movie looks bad. I'll give you that. I don't know if I would say it looks much worse than this, but I guess we'll see. I also I get irritated by different things. The Uncharted movie, I could imagine I might be able to finish. This one was this. I was in so much pain on this film. Bad jokes, just attempts at humor, and just understanding that I'm that I cannot gel with this humor at all. And it's the most lazy Big Bang Theory writing ever. I wrote a couple down because they irritated the fuck out of me. Keep making jokes or I'm going to send you to the worst place in the world. Your Instagram account?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What are you? How is that a joke?
As well.
You just referenced Instagram. You just did a bazinga. You just referenced something technological.
That's one of the worst jokes in the movie, which they bring up again later on.
Yeah, they bring it up again.
Yeah, he calls it back. Oh, it's so ridiculous.
It's so cringe. Holy fuck. Haha, it's funny. Her Instagram account is the worst place in the world. That was an insult because that means her Instagram account is a bad place. Haha, whoa.
Fucking dumb.
That's what a lot of that humor boils down into. It's referencing a website or a social media. There's that part where he's oh, I got that on Etsy. It's just him being quirky.
The most broad. It's not just references at the expense of humor and in replacement of humor, but it's also the most broad and easy to get references imaginable. Oh, the guy has face tattoos that's in the kitchen. He's Post Malone. Haha. Post Malone, he has the guy that is a famous singer with his face tattoos. That's it.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
It gets real old real quick. And to be honest, even before I noticed the bad humor, it was the level of the product placements that was driving me crazy. It starts real quick with The Rock opening a can of Coke and pouring it over the golden egg, of which gets mentioned so many times.
There's a lot of High C.
Egg talk.
High C is a division of the Coca-Cola company. There we go.
Ryan Reynolds drinking his own gin that you can buy.
Oh, Aviation?
Yeah, in that early
it's
scene.
So
where the Rock,
tasteless.
I didn't even realize that's what he was doing.
Yeah. It's so
I want to bring up the action. I thought the action scenes were just terrible.
Awful.
It's just so bland and they feel the same. They all feel the same. They feel like a million other movies you've seen. Did you guys like the turret section, the car chase?
And it goes into first person.
This is part. They're getting chased on a truck, and it goes into first person, when he's shooting the turret.
Yeah, I remember.
It's like a video game. It's first person of him shooting. I'm okay.
Yeah, some really fake, ungrounded action where they're just all CG bullshit, CG cars flying around. It's very obnoxious.
It's too over the top, yeah. And just the way it's shot, it's very bland.
Yep.
But just The Rock being the main character ruins the script. They so many times it brings everything to a halt because they have to address the absurdity of the situation. There's a part where in a normal movie, if The Rock wasn't giant and obviously draws attention, you'd have the main character sneak into the ballroom scene with a mask or whatever, but here, because it's The Rock, he looks hilarious with just a little mask on, trying to cover his body or his his stature, and they kind of try and embrace it with the humor, but it's super weird and awkward.
I hate
it doesn't work.
I absolutely hate jokes that are it's all they're doing is pointing out an absurdity in something, but the moment you point it out for the audience, it makes it less funny too. There was a moment where he's why are you wearing a hairnet? You're bald. It's if it was just something he was doing in the scene and it wasn't explicitly explained, then perhaps there could be a bit of humor to that. But the fact that they have to say, oh, there's a joke there, it's so frustrating and annoying. It's so cringe. I hate it so much. Why are we doing this? Fuck, I hate that. It's It's the shit that I wrote, or maybe that I saw other people write. Everybody did when they were like 13. You know, it's like the laziest, most embarrassing, just cringe nonsense. I can't.
It's like overly descriptive, overly verbal all the time. Overly describing everything, referencing too hard. Yeah, it becomes really obnoxious after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't there a part where he literally whistles the Indiana Jones theme? Ryan Reynolds, like going down the stairs, and he whistles it.
Yep, I was not aware. I don't think I got that far. Even as someone that only made it like halfway through the movie and then dipped, like there's so many, there were so many scenes where it was just like, wow, this setup is so obvious that there is no payoff, because it's just you're telling me what you're doing in the setup, and there's no payoff because it's just a thing. When he says like, oh, this soap is made out of something pure glycerin, and I was like, oh, he's going to use it to, like, in what other context do you normally hear the word glycerin? Like, that's so obvious. And then when they're like, why are they letting the prisoners like build fix the hole in the wall? And then it's just like, let's do a close-up shot on the tiny stone that he just places there. It's like, oh, well, this is just, okay, this is obvious what's going to happen here. And I was just like, there's no satisfaction to anything, because there's no wonder about what will take place. There's no question as to what will take place. It's all just paint by numbers.
Yeah, there's definitely no wonder.
Yeah. I can't deal with this. But at the same time, part of me has to recognize that we're just not really a part of the target demographic, and that a lot of people really love this. And if the objective of the movie is just making something that a lot of people want to watch, then in many ways they succeeded, right? We have to take the L in a bit of a way and be like, yeah, they made that type of movie successfully. They did create what they wanted to create. We're just not a part of the target demographic.
Yeah, weirdly similar to the kind of Free Guy conclusion too, because that movie resonates. It's just a new era. It's a new type of, acceptance with these. Netflix have just reinvented the. It's just like the type of mediocrity they're pushing out. Like
I don't think this is new at all.
It's relatively new in this grand scheme of like Hollywood or like movies.
I don't think so.
The past like 10 years.
Red Notice is the type of movie that we've seen a billion times but just forget about. You know how like you look at any decade?
Yeah, but now it's on Netflix. It's different.
Yeah, but Netflix they have money that like theaters do. I don't. Yeah, Netflix is just creating movies that will do well. That's what they're doing, and that's why a lot of them are bad. They fine-tuned what people want to see, and that's what they're giving us, and it's bad. So like I don't think that this is new at all. Like studios have been doing this forever. Because it's on Netflix doesn't mean it's like that different.
Yeah, the thing the fact that it's on Netflix makes it different, I think. These movies used to be released in theaters, and now they're not. Now
it's just a different format.
It's just a different formula.
Do you think the sort of lower barrier of entry kind of encourages engagement more too? Because like you don't even have to go anywhere to like watch it.
Exactly.
Everyone has
I think
Netflix.
That's it too.
Yeah, but that's that's everything.
That wasn't a thing in the 80s. In the 80s, this movie would have came out in theaters because there's no other way to see it.
Yeah.
And they would have made their money that way.
And you were just like happy to fucking get out of the house.
You're right. The formula is there. It's the most bland movie ever. Like we said, it's stars, it's the formula, it's dumb jokes. Like Hollywood's been making movies like that for years. Now Netflix is kind of taking that formula. And they just put it on their site. And who knows if those ratings are even like 100% accurate, because they're the ones releasing that.
Exactly. They're reporting the numbers.
Yeah, but it's definitely like it's got some weight to it. I don't think it's just like no one watched it. It's a very marketable
the
movie.
IMDb user rating is 6.4. That's pretty fucking good for what it is.
It is pretty
169,000 ratings too. Yeah, there's a lot of people that watch it.
You can just watch it.
People
There's no
love Deadpool.
Audience reaction. Yeah, people just watching kind of like
and Wonder Woman.
Right in, move on with their lives. Yeah.
Damn. I see that it was no question that this was going to be successful in some way. Like there was no question that people were going to see this. You can't have those three actors in a movie and have people not see it.
Yeah, and it's on the front page of Netflix.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like even I didn't click on it right away, but I'm like, oh, what's this? It's got Dwayne Johnson and it's got Ryan Reynolds. You know, I wonder what it is.
It's got the movie people in it.
It's got big stars in it. Yeah.
There's a gag in the movie where Ryan Reynolds says something to the effect of, Vin Diesel has a tape out there of him auditioning for Cats.
Oh yeah.
So I looked that up on YouTube, and all the comments were like, thanks Ryan Reynolds, like, for this. This is hilarious. Like, no one referring to like his character name or anything like that.
Of course,
just, like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
So it's like,
what character
it's
name?
Just illuminating. Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's what people want and like. It's like they're friends with Ryan, and they're going like, "What's Ryan doing this week?" It's like watching Homer Simpson's like new job each week, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just want to see Ryan Reynolds on screen. You like, it's not about the character or the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not like invested in anything, right?
Why the?
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm just like looking at the IMDb page. Her dress looks so stupid. It's got like boob windows under the boob.
Yeah, it does. Really bad poster.
Like, what the fuck's going on there? Anyway, yeah, these are the, I don't know, maybe 3 most obnoxious actors, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a cast in a film that could be more obnoxious than this. I don't think it's possible.
I think the only addition they could have made to make it more obnoxious is put Chris Pratt in it.
And a cameo
I don't
from
know.
Kevin Hart.
They put Chris Pratt.
Kevin Hart needs to be in there as well.
Chris Pratt's like a
Kevin Hart
meme
too.
right now.
What I mean is, I'm so tired of seeing these actors. Like, Dwayne Johnson has been in a ton of movies this year. Ryan Reynolds has been in a ton of movies recently. Like, you know, it's just like I constantly see these guys. I want to see someone new. Chris Pratt is the same way. Like, he has like 5 movies in the works. He's Mario. He's this. He's, you know, it's like, what the fuck?
But at the same time, we see that people are kind of pushing back against Chris Pratt in a way. Some, not everybody. We see the same thing happening with Kevin Hart. Not everybody. But Ryan Reynolds is just so unanimously loved, apart from like maybe some people in our community or something, right? That it's just like, it makes it so much more obnoxious that this is like, yes, this is the apex of what an actor is or a celebrity or a personality, or you know, like this is the one. This is what humanity has settled with. Like that.
Yeah,
that just makes
Daniel
it more obnoxious.
Yeah, I guess that gets under my skin
Not
too.
Anthony Hopkins. Like,
and
someone
it's not
with,
just
like,
that it's not just that it's all the same Deadpool jokes. It's that they're all bad. Like, I didn't even love the humor in the Deadpool movies. Like, it was a bit funnier than like all this other shit. But like, I didn't even. It's not my brand of humor. I'm not really big on like he. In the middle of an explosion, it went slow-mo, and he said, "Did I leave the oven on?" And then he kept going. Like, that's not my brand of humor. It works for a lot of people, not for me. And so,
it works for me.
seeing this just continue to replicate that,
He was born to play
really
Deadpool,
lowbrow.
and only Deadpool.
kind
Kind of his curse.
there's a reason why so many different writers are able to replicate the exact same thing. Is because it takes no talent to write those kind of Deadpool jokes. There's a reason why he's playing the same character and having the same caliber of jokes and same writing across so many different properties with completely different writers that have never talked to each other. It's because it takes no talent to do. Like, that's why there's consistency.
Yeah. I like Deadpool. I like both the Deadpool movies. There was definitely much more of a novelty to it when it came out because it was kind of fresh. You know, like, remember the superhero Burnout and all that, and like that was kind of a fresh take on superhero movies. And that fourth wall breaking, that wasn't really like much of a thing at that point. So Deadpool kind of made that popular, and I think it works in those movies. But you know, how many fucking times can you do the same jokes? I mean, Deadpool's pretty old now. It's
like
been a couple of years.
later,
Like, you know, it's time to do something else. Like, it's still the same Deadpool shit. Yeah, I mean, you're right in that way. I just think Deadpool's much better than this. I mean, reference humor, but there was at least a novelty to it then, because it was not really popular like it is now.
It's the copycat nature that
so
bothers me, because
overdone.
I'm fine with it in Deadpool as well. It fits, and it's like true to the character and everything, and it has more going on. It's got the like gratuitous violence, and it's the commentary on the superhero stuff.
True.
But, well, this isn't like it's not trying to like deconstruct a fucking National Treasure type movie or anything like that. It doesn't have that much like cleverness going on. It's just like a really generic, just adventure movie with these 3 characters on the poster. You just know everything about it from that poster. if you get something from that Red Notice poster, then you'll like this movie. If you see Gal Gadot there in that red dress and it makes you want to watch it, then it's for you, you know? You see Ryan Reynolds just staring you down on that poster and that tickles you, then this is for you. If you see The Rock glaring at you and that puts you off, it's definitely not for you. And I'm in that camp.
It tickles you.
This movie's cancer. 3 out of 10. I know you might think that's pretty high, but as I said, not the target demographic. They made the movie that they were trying to make, you know? At the end of the day, you got to give them some credit for that, so...
Yeah. It's
3. Yeah, it's fun.
I've definitely seen worse. Like, I was probably more bored by that Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt. Speaking of Chris Pratt, like, that is like true generic to me. I mean, not that this isn't like true generic, but I don't know. I liked it like slightly more than something like that.
I thought that movie was so stupid that I liked it a little bit more.
It was Tomorrow War is stupid, and it keeps me glued really in because stupid. I'm angry and I'm like trying to understand how the universe works, but it doesn't care how it works, and so I'm just...
I guess, this doesn't even have the anger.
That's like a fun little deconstruction for me, and I just keep following it. Whereas Red Notice, I can't deal with those shit jokes, and nothing's happening anyway. Like, there's nothing... It doesn't matter if I'm following the plot or not in Red Notice.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
I'm more indifferent.
I don't have to interpret anything.
I felt like no emotion.
The Tomorrow War released the same way, but they were both just kind of put on streaming. You know, like they just came out. I'm like, what the fuck's this? And I watched it. I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
Both were huge successes, aren't they?
I like anticipation. You know, don't you like anticipation? Like knowing when a movie's going to come out, like a year before or a few months before, you have like a trailer and just like build up. I kind of like that. It like builds your anticipation of the movie. It gets your mind racing. People build like expectations, you know, and like now they just like dump a movie on Netflix and it's just like, okay, it sucked. It's like, no wonder it sucked. You weren't looking forward to it. You didn't even know it existed 5 minutes ago, and then it's just gone. It's very it's a very disposable movie, and it's very bland. I thought I would probably go with a 3 out of 10, like Adam, but I don't feel strongly about it at all.
Yeah, I felt much stronger about this director's previous movie, Skyscraper. That was like one of the ones that broke me. That was also much funnier in my mind. Like, I had fun making fun of Skyscraper.
That was
like
so much
an
funnier.
Action movie. Like, it's just such a bad idea all around. Fun to make fun of.
Shitty Die Hard.
Yeah, this is just like generic.
Yeah, PG-13 Die Hard.
I might even score this 2 stars out of 5.
That's fair. It's totally fair.
Yeah, just nothing. Just a nothing, slightly below average. Exactly what you'd expect from this director.
Do you think it's worse than Free Guy? Do you think Free Guy's worse?
Free Guy personally annoyed me more because of the subject matter, I think.
Sure. Maybe splitting hairs.
Yeah, I would definitely describe that as splitting hairs, though. But you also just have more Ryan Reynolds, which I guess is, depending on how you feel about him, will tickle you or not tickle you.
Yeah.
All right, so there was a film recommendation, and I recommended it. And so spoilers for Sátántangó is how the director pronounced it. So I hope
that's how you say it. Okay. I'm scared to say the title.
Yeah, Sátántangó.
Sátántangó
is how he said it.
Okay.
Directed by Béla Tarr. If I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it does translate to Satan's Tango. So I thought I was being silly when I called it Satan Tango before, but apparently that's just what it is.
That makes sense.
It is considered to be his masterpiece. It's 7 hours and 19 minutes long. That makes it pretty unique.
Very unique.
It's not the only long film I've seen, and you know, you could. I've binged a mini series that was longer than that in one day. You know, so continuous story in that way. So I don't really see much of a difference.
Well, we could talk about television, right? We could talk about TV and like the length of that. Yeah. There's a lot of movies too, or not a lot, but there's movies that are about like really long like that. There's like another really famous, like great one that's like, 5 hours long, I think. I'm gonna check my
Norte End of History was great. That was about 5 hours long.
Oh yeah.
Same director made The Woman Who Left, which I'll be watching for my 2016 list. I think that's like 6 hours or some shit. Yeah, there's a few long movies out there. This one is famous and infamous for a few different reasons. One of them being the length. spoilers for this movie. There's some disturbing stuff in it too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll like kind of get into that. I have mixed feelings on it. I guess I don't want to get too specific into that. I do want to hear what both of you think about it first.
I feel like my experience with Gene Delman, that maybe changed my outlook on the runtime of movies and the certain limitations maybe that we put onto them and what can come with experimenting with a timeline and the length of a movie. And I didn't really know much about it, but before jumping in, I read that it was about the kind of fall of communism in Hungary, sort of late 80s sort of time period, which is like a really fascinating setting in my mind that I couldn't wait to see explored. But yeah, that runtime is off-putting and a huge barrier to entry, and
yeah,
I'm torn in terms of I have a deep respect for this movie, and there was so much about it that I really enjoy, and I'm continuing to enjoy and get more out of the more I read about it, the more I think about it, certain imagery that sits in my head, the overall mood of it. I wasn't expecting it to be kind of as confusing and experimental with the whole its structure, which I'm sure we can talk about, with the whole tango aspect, and reading that it was also kind of based on a also sort of infamously confusing book, I think helps wrap your head around it too, because I could imagine a lot of the more confusing elements working very well in a novel sort of setting where you do get to kind of hear inner monologues and whatnot that gets lost when it's purely film and you don't rely purely on narration or whatever. But at the same time, I was still just so bored at certain parts. It's plodding. It is plodding, but it's intentionally plodding. And any suggestion to cut down its plodding nature, I feel like, would defeat the whole point of it, kind of in a Gene Delman kind of way, where it is about the misery of these characters and the misery of the setting and exploring the misery that comes from power structures shifting in this way and people who are left on the outskirts and dealing with that. And the setting does, it all like feeds into a central theme and mood that I really enjoy. But I would not blame anyone for being put off by that runtime, because that is a big part of the discussion, you know. What about you, Rolf?
That's like the talking point. Yeah, I don't know. I feel the same way as you. Gene Dealman's a good one to bring up. You know, I feel that's kind of the same way. I really liked it. Got really good around the 5 hour mark. It's like a joke I came up with. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's like a 7 hour long fucking film. It's a very hard film to sit through.
Oh, did you? By the way, did you do all in one sitting, both of you, or no?
I paused it and like got up a few times.
I stopped at the first intermission and then went to bed, watched the rest of it in one chunk the next day.
I can't say I was paying attention 100% because it's just so long. And, you know, even I think TV is a good thing to bring up now, because at the time of this movie, there might have been like a great aspect to it. Like, it's this really epic story. It's very grand scale. It's 7 hours long. Now we have television and we have shows like Succession and Breaking Bad that tell stories over like hours and flesh out those characters. And, you know, like that idea I think is kind of dated, and also like the episodic nature of television makes it just like a little more digestible, I think.
Yeah,
like
it flows
the episodes have a structure and, you know, cliffhangers that make them much more watchable, which is why I think I can watch like 5 episodes of Succession, like, and not really this.
It's a different pacing,
but yeah, this is like a film. I mean, it's very different. I can't really wrap my mind around sitting in a theater and watching a 7 hour movie like all the way through. I think that's a lot to ask of someone. And but this is still like from what I've read about it and just knowledge of it, it's an important movie. It's well shot, like the acting's good. It's just really that length is really daunting.
Well, yeah, reading that it only has about 156 shots in the entire movie.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
For that running time too is actually crazy when you're looking at like thousands for like a normal kind of Hollywood type movie.
Like the first shot of the movie is just like farm animals, right? Like,
it's like 8 minutes of like cows out of the farm.
That's what I mean. Like, it starts with that. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah. So the fan base around this film, and I guess like by extension around like Bela Tarr, I've read into this. I've seen a particular video essay even that was featured on the Blu-ray, and that somebody actually linked in our subreddit recently, called "Orders of Time in Motion," video essay by Kevin B. Lee.
Yeah,
and I watched that and there was some really, really interesting stuff in there, talking about how an interpretation for the cows at the beginning would be like, oh, okay, so we're watching the cows escape, not watched by humans, going away from their normal environment. You could make a parallel between the human beings that are later thrust from their environment, leaving the village under circumstances, blah, blah, blah. There are parallels there. There are obviously certain shots that are, really clearly sort of like existing to show contrast between situations and where characters are at. So you have the doctor at the beginning, and then you have him like sitting in his chair with the notes or whatever, and then like later in the film when he comes back he was at the hospital, I think, you can see just like how the environment's changed and how the shot mirrors itself. Or there was sorry, there's so many characters, and so I'm just trying to remember their names too.
The naming is
one of them
difficult.
I think of as Fedora Man. He had almost a fedora at some points.
Fedora.
The guy who went to the police and made the report or whatever. And you see like the swooping camera movement amount around the table when they're constructing their report, and then when the police are rewording the report, you see the same sort of swooping camera angles. So there's definitely some intention in the film that I like. And the other really interesting, notable one that I'll bring up here is you mentioned that the number of shots in the film is incredibly low, especially for 7 hours.
Yeah.
This video essay mentioned that the scene with the most shots in them is the one at the police station near the beginning, and it's the only scene that is shot in kind of a B shot, reverse shot sort of way, where the average length of a shot there is only like a few seconds, and it's done in more of a traditional Hollywood film production sort of way. And that's the only scene in the movie. And so the interpretation there that a lot of people seem to agree on is that this is a commentary on, I guess, the need for order, because that's what the officer is lecturing about in that scene at that moment in time. He's talking about how there needs to be order because blah, 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 people aren't able to do that. And so it's a commentary on like, okay, the order of filmmaking, the old style of filmmaking, this already existing structure versus, I don't know, creating a 7-hour movie with like ridiculoly long shots. So I like those parallels there.
Yeah,
however,
very interesting. Yeah, sure.
I think that there is a lot of overinterpretation, even within this video review, that I found very substantial and very interesting for much of it. Half of it is just like insane nonsense. I don't know if you watched the whole thing, Alex. Did you? Or
I did watch the whole thing, and I picked up on the same things you did, like the cow thing especially. And there is just a lot of symbolism with animals in the movie, which I was picking up on, and even the way you're kind of led around the movie in these long, fucking minute-long shots where you are led around kind of like a cow, where you are going to the slaughterhouse sort of thing. And I like all that sort of Animal Farm-esque imagery. But yeah, I was kind of stuck on a similar thing where it's like, how much of this am I projecting onto it out of sheer sort of boredom in some of these shots? Because I didn't feel it as much during dialogue scenes, because I felt I was able to just interpret a lot more from what they were saying, and the holding shot on like a single character while they're monologuing for a long time. You get really interesting, unique performances out of actors that way. They're just given so much more room to play around and improvise, and there's a kind of improvisational nature to the way the dialogue comes across. But when it is minute-long like sequences of characters like refilling their drink or having a lunch break or walking for a while, like after a few minutes, I do feel like I understand the point, and I do think the framing and composition of basically every shot is pretty much perfect for what I'm like looking for. It looks like you're almost like going through a gallery of photographs, like moving photographs. It's like stunning in the disgusting misery it's showing, but it really does. It does push you. It is intentionally pushing you, I think, like to just see what it can get away with almost, and what emotional reaction you get from that.
I think it's not just.
Sure.
I agree that there are plenty of opportunities for overinterpretation in this film. It's almost a film that kind of warrants that in a way. It attracts that sort of attention, and I don't think it's just because of the length. I don't think it's necessarily out of boredom. I think it also has to do with its presentation, the fact that it is a very atypical length of a film. So when I say not just because of length, it's not just because like, oh, I'm so bored, I need to think of things, but also just the expectation of having a film that stands out and says, yes, I am 7 hours and 19 minutes long. Not only that, yes, I am a film that is in black and white, you know, and I think a lot of that does do a bit of the work for the film in terms of like what it's going for, in terms of what the expectations for the film are and what its perceived quality is. And not to say like, oh yeah, this film's just a bunch of bullshit and anybody who likes it is stupid or anything, whatever some people think I wind up saying whenever I say something like that. But yeah, if you look at that video essay, which again was featured on the Blu-ray, about half of it is just fucking insane. It's just the most bonkers like nonsense that doesn't make any sense to put in a video essay. A good chunk of it is... So because this film is told in a non-chronological way, there are certain scenes that are essentially recreated. So when the doctor is confronted by the girl before he chases after her through the trees, you have the scene where, I forget his name, from the beginning, is like hiding behind the house and then goes and confronts the other guy and knocks on his door. And so there are certain scenes in this film that are recreated from different perspectives, or the landlord yelling at the villagers as they're leaving. And so this video essay that is on the Blu-ray spends a good 10 out of its 20-minute runtime talking about, like, you'll notice that the first time that we see these characters, the pacing is a little bit different. The doctor falls slightly earlier in this one than he does after this. In this one, the girl runs away 3 seconds after, and he's heavily implying that this is all intentional and not just a normal thing that happens when you try and recreate the exact same thing. First of all, I'm sorry, if you look at interviews of Bela Tarr, he says they don't even use scripts on set, right? Like, some of this is kind of improvised. So especially considering that in his own filming techniques, right? Like, it's a normal thing. Like, almost every single movie that's ever tried to go like, oh, and here's what happened from this angle, they've never done it perfectly because it's very difficult to get it perfect. And yet this half of this video essay is like, oh, but perhaps this... Oh, I gotta find the quote here. It's like absolutely incense. It's absolutely insane. Let's see. So yeah, I just wrote down some of what happened in this video essay because I found it fucking insane. The quote is, "Putting these movements side by side reveals discrepancies. Here, Futaki leaves 15 seconds earlier. Are these discrepancies unintentional effects that mark the difficulties of maintaining continuity when filming a 7-hour feature film? Or can one describe these differences with cinematic significance, if not an outright intention?" And so he shows a few of them. Are these discrepancies between the shots meant to convey how different characters perceive time and space? Are they meant to reveal the gap between external sort of objective appearance of reality and internal subjective experience? And that even in the same shared moments, characters are tragically disconnected from each other by their own perceptions? This is like everything I hate about video essaying. Like, there's some of this shit on YouTube too, where it's like, man, you just said nothing in a lot of words, and like, and the tone of it, and like it just like the movie, where it's like the implication of like, yes, I am very educated, you know, but you're not really saying anything. Not to say that the movie doesn't say anything, but there's a lot of parts in the movie that don't say anything that people overinterpret the fuck out of, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, holy shit. Sure. I encourage people to watch that video because it's literally half of it is just fucking insanity. Like, I don't understand why anyone would put that in a video. That was like when I fucked up at the beginning of my Synecdoche, New York review and talked about like the clock for like 5 minutes or whatever. But that was like, I don't know, how many years ago was that? Like 7 years ago?
Yeah,
and
that's like one thing. I actually thought that was cool. I'm like, oh yeah, the text thing with the clock or whatever. Yeah, I feel like I try to avoid that video essays, like trying to sound like a loon. You know, like I'd rather say nothing. I'd rather say nothing than try to sound like fucking crazy. I guess it shows you the passion like behind this movie, though, that this video essayist
What
had.
bugged me about that is it felt like he was trying to fill up time and didn't have more to say about the movie. So half of the essay, it was like,
that's true.
Was he paid by the company to make a essay for the Blu-ray, and then, you know, they said it needed to be 20 minutes, but he only had 10 minutes worth of shit to say about the movie? I don't know. I'm trying not to be mean here, but like legit, half of it is just showing that there are slight differences in the timing of certain recreated scenes, and then holy fuck, that quote of just, is this to highlight the difference between objective and subjective reality? Like, holy shit. You could say that about anything.
It wasn't a strong
You could
point.
take like the scenes from Pulp Fiction and say that like almost every single movie that's ever tried to recreate scenes like that has done it with different pacing. You can't have it perfect unless you're filming two angles at once or unless you edit it in very strategic ways. I'll have to rewatch Gus Van Sant's Elephant, because I remember there were some interesting ways that was done, where he basically, like, you could tell that some of the audio was taken from the other take, but you couldn't see the character's face. So they were able to use the previous take's audio, stuff like that. Like, it is possible, but having a few seconds of difference in what a character does, that's not a unique discrepancy. That's a normal thing for a movie. So yeah, there's some people overinterpret the fuck out of this movie, is what I'm going to say. But and also, I'll let you guys talk a bit more if you have more to say about it. I've still got to rant a bit.
I really don't have anything to say about this. Go ahead.
All right, so this is gonna. There are some people that are gonna be mad at me. So I've seen 3 Bela Tarr films now. Well, 2.5, I guess. The Turin Horse was my first experience. That was a very, very, very slow movie. Not as long. I saw it in 2011 at a film festival in Vancouver, and I had brought a coworker from my work. I worked at Best Buy at the time, and this was our first time hanging out outside of work. Right. And I didn't realize it was going to be one of these like, oh my god, slowest movie ever sort of thing. And so part of my experience watching that movie was also me being like, okay, I don't even know if this guy's seen a single art film, right? And so we left before it was over, and I was like, yeah, this was really slow. I don't know if I ever want to give it a second chance again, because not only did this movie not supremely wow me in that sense, but there's something about Bela Tarr. There's like some part of his brain missing that allows him to not be annoyed when he plays the same song over and over and over and over again the entire movie in a loop that just goes forever, and it's like a 10-second loop. That's what happened in the Turin Horse too. They got the composer to make like a really good song when the horse is on the carriage and like moving towards and like and some nice string instruments, and then he spams it the entire movie. It's like every fucking 10 minutes it's like a punchline, and he's playing the exact same song over and over again. There is literally one song in the film The Turin Horse, and they play it throughout the entire movie. This film, the 7-hour-long Sátántangó, is not nearly as bad, but there are long sequences where just the same fucking loop plays over and over again. Some of the music in this movie was just straight up bad. Some of the music in this movie where I could hear the weightlessness of the shitty synthetic keyboard bullshit that they were using, and I was thinking just like, what child wrote this? What child wrote the score for this? It was so sloppy. You could hear these like weirdly, it doesn't even sound like intentional. It's but of course then a massive Bela Tarr fan would find some metaphorical reason why it is intentional. They'd say like, no, the situation of the villagers is represented in how the song, it sounds imperfect and blah blah blah. And I've made those arguments before with something like Her, the soundtrack for Her. I thought that it actually fit really well for Arcade Fire to use not super well tuned piano, but the playing never felt sloppy. The playing never felt like it was literally being done by a 4-year-old, right? And it didn't loop forever. I don't know what part of his brain is missing where like he's somehow not able to get annoyed by that, but it's absolutely nuts. And then when we get to the actual tango scene, I've still got that song in my head. I've only seen the movie once. I can tell you right now how part of it goes. It goes fucking forever. And then the longer the shot goes, so some directors that I really love, like Michel Haneke, broken record, I know I love bringing him up a lot, but the shot in Amour, where you see the entire crowd of people, and it goes on for so long. The longer that you watch the shot, the more you're able to soak in, the more you're able to see like little details. The more you watch the movie, you can watch it a second time and be like, oh wow, like that performance over there in the corner is like really natural. There's tons of extras, a lot of things happening. When I see a Bela Tarr film, the longer a shot goes on for, the more imperfections I'm able to notice. The longer the shot went on for of the actual tango scene where everyone's dancing, the more I'm noticing just how fucking awful the accordion playing is. It doesn't look like he's playing the accordion at all. It's like he's doing like, look at his fingers when he's doing it. It looks so cringe. It's like the piano playing in fucking what's that one take movie? Victoria. It's like as cringe as the piano playing in Victoria. And I wouldn't notice it if the shot didn't go on for so long, but it did. And so I'm able to soak in more things that are wrong about it. In that scene, notice how like nobody's saying a fucking word. There's no single like yeah or woohoo or anything. No words being spoken to each other, but they're like kicking each other and doing all this weird shit. It seems so fake and phony and unnatural. I don't understand. The longer that it goes on for, the more I notice how much I hate it. Right? And then that loop just plays forever. And it's like, it's the most irritating thing in the fucking world. I can't understand it. I just don't know what it is about his fans or him that are able to just hear. Imagine an alarm going off for like 24 hours or something. Just beep, 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 beep. That's what it translates to me as when I hear the exact same loop of the song, like a 10-second loop, play on for fucking 10 minutes. I can't stand it. I don't know how anybody else can.
They don't just do it with the music too. There's some bits of dialogue where they do that sort of thing as well, right? There's like the drunk guy who's repeating the same line over and over again for minutes and minutes. It almost like puts you in a trance. It's really quite odd to experience, and it's part of why I'm glad I watched this movie. I feel like I got a valuable experience. Not that I want to rush back to see it anytime soon, but I just feel like it's so kind of audacious to push it to this level, to push it to this extreme, the 7.5 hours, but putting in that like meticulous design with that camera work with, I didn't really notice the in that tango scene, the music playing. I'm sure I would on a rewatch now, but
it's so cringe.
That was one of the scenes I enjoyed. Yeah, I don't know. I just like fell into it after a few hours. I had such an interesting experience. I really enjoyed the first couple hours as it was setting up, and I was just curious as to where it was going. And because I wasn't familiar with this director, I wasn't familiar with the style. I thought maybe the shot length was gonna vary as it went along or something, or if it was how experimental it was gonna be. And I did find myself getting attached to this kind of tango structure, the 2 steps back, 1 step forward kind of idea, and the kind of confusing narrative that is built from that. I do agree it doesn't fully come together for me, and I feel like there's a lot of muddiness to it that is, it's easy to attribute the kind of, you can fill in the gaps with the setting and the historical
and the
kind
tone
of background. Yeah, I guess that's why that consistent tone, and I was enjoying the performances and just the reveling in the nihilism, the misery of it, and this kind of false prophet character who's fucking with everyone and just lying and manipulating these poor people like they are just like farm animals, just being like used and abused for 7 hours. And it's so like gratuitous with when it breaks down into like the kid, and we haven't talked about the like cat stuff and the kind of masochism that comes out. And
that was okay, so sorry, I'll let you talk about it first. Yelled for
well, yeah, that was one of the things that I didn't like. Obviously, was the cat stuff, and it's one of the more controversial parts of the movie. When reading about it, it does upset a lot of people, and cat lovers should be warned, I guess, that there's some pretty horrible animal abuse recorded. And I guess that it was explained as like there was a vet on set, and it was apparently the director's like own cat or something. But it's still it's disturbing to watch. It reminds me of like a cannibal Holocaust type thing, where they're like, I don't know if they really get down with injuring animals for this stuff. I don't know if it's fully necessary for the artistic intent.
Oh yeah,
achieve similar things without having to do that.
The on the Wikipedia plot summary during that scene. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, here we are. The quote on Wikipedia. Somebody wrote, "She tortures and poisons her cat to death for some reason." Like literally wrote the words "for some reason" in the wiki plot summary, because there isn't really a good reason why she is doing it or why the movie should include it. I have an article where Bela Tarr responds to the questions about the cat. So people asked him about like the issue of like animal welfare. His response is, "Are you crazy?" He snaps, it says in the article. "I had 2 cats at home. Can you believe that I would kill a cat? Never. First of all, we knew the cat scene was coming, and we knew that the cat would have to rehearse with the girl. Every day in the hotel room, they would do this kind of turning game. By the end, the cat was used to this and did not care." He continues, "We knew the cat has to die, so I called my vet, who was looking after my cat at home, and he came to the location. I told him, 'You have to give her a sleeping injection. We will push the button on the camera when you give us the sign that the cat is getting dizzy.' We shot on his signal, and the cat fell asleep. The whole crew stood around waiting for 25 minutes until she started to wake up. It was totally okay. The cat did not have any trouble. Believe me, all the cat noises you hear are samples that we found from the sound archive on the internet because the cat was totally silent." Okay, there's his excuse. I still think he's fucking dishonest. He's fucking bullshitting. I don't think like, oh yeah, he killed a cat on set, but like cats are not acting animals. I'm sorry. When the you can see the discomfort in that
dogs
cat. Stop fucking lying to people, you dishonest piece of shit. Like, come
I talk about this in 9 Lives. Cats are not cooperative really at all.
You can't get a cat to fake an emotion for the camera. That's not what was happening. If you have any understanding of like animal body language or anything, like its ears are like pulled back, it's like clearly under distress. Like that's really fucking obvious, and you can't fake that shit. So unless he's gonna, I mean, he's dead now, so he can't really explain that part. So unless he was gonna explain that, like by having like the super acting cat that just is able to perform emotion for the camera in a way that no cat has ever done in history, that would be the
every day.
I think
I've never heard of anyone rehearsing with a cat.
Either he knows he's lying, or he has such a little such a low understanding of like empathy that he doesn't understand when the cat is actually under distress. Like he's either lying or he's a piece of shit or both, right? So,
but they like suspend it from like a mesh sack and stuff too. It's like, how do you explain?
Yeah, you don't. It's clearly under distress, and the fact that he's lying about it after is just like really cringe. Like, just be honest about it. Fucking own it if you're gonna do that in a movie.
Well, yeah. I feel there's like a really great, maybe 2.5, 3-hour movie in here somewhere, right? Like that I could actually watch all the way through, and I'm like, wow, that was actually really great. But it's a little too daunting for me at this point, and I think I gave a good reason, like why I don't want to sit through a 7-hour fucking thing.
The fact that it's 7 hours didn't negatively impact my experience at all. It was slow. You can have a movie this slow that's short, like The Tour and Horse. You can have a movie that's this slow but shorter, and I still feel the exact same way about it. When I heard that this was based off of a novel, my expectation was like, oh, finally, we're going to get a film that translates the entire novel without having to summarize it, and it's just going to feel like a long story. And for the first however long of the movie, like, I don't know, 30 minutes, it really seemed like it was going to be that way. I was pretty engaged and interested in the conflict of these characters.
Sure.
And I love the sound design of, when they're talking about the plot to steal the money and the clock's just ticking, and I'm like, wow, that sound design choice is adding so much tension and excitement to the scene that would otherwise just be like 2 people talking sort of thing. There's a lot that I loved about it, but over time, slowly, it's just like, wow, the length is totally not justified at all. You could tell the exact same story in like 3 hours and it would be totally fine. There's key parts of the movie that are sticking out in my memory of things that I enjoy or even things that I dislike, but most of it is just like really unnecessarily long in a way where it's just like, Sure, like it's respectable because it's ballsy to be like, yeah, I'm making a 7 hour and 19 minutes movie, whatever. But I was really hoping for something where it felt like 7 hours and 19 minutes worth of story, not just the shots were longer.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that was more of my expectation too. And I read something interesting about the book. Because this kind of screams out to me as one of those books that you would imagine would have one of those reputations as being like, don't even attempt this in like cinematic form. Like you can't do something like Dune, like the tango structure and everything is really, really ambitious, and then adding in the 7-hour runtime is a crazy idea. But I read that every chapter in the book is a long paragraph which does not contain line breaks, which makes me wonder if that was... this excessive length was his sort of way of trying to adapt that type of storytelling, trying to push it through that. I'm honestly way more intrigued to read the book over watching this again, which I don't know if that's a failure on the film's behalf.
That sounds interesting.
I do think there's something really interesting.
Let me know how it is.
Yeah, there is something that really interesting about that structure to me, and just it's totally unique. I haven't really seen a film like this before, and I don't know how I would ever really, just with that setting too and everything and the historical context, I really find it expressive for what it's going for that fall of communism, for the like depravity, the lack of like self-worth and lack of purpose that is portrayed. It does achieve that well. But I don't know how far I can defend it if I'm not even really willing to rewatch this anytime soon.
If there weren't such irritating aspects in this movie, then I would watch it again. What's honestly preventing me from even considering watching this film a second time is a lot of those music annoyances that I mentioned earlier. Like I can't deal with that. Like that was like hell. That was so irritating and grating. Like it's... Yeah, it sounded like a fucking child playing on a keyboard, and then they looped it. Like, I'm sorry, you can't... How how do you put that in a movie? It's so, honestly, just so cringe.
It is draining. It's a draining project, and extremely pessimistic in nature. Like this lead character is... I mean, he basically is a nihilist. He's talking about how, like, the little value and the meaninglessness of everything around him, and the scathing way he describes the people of the village, and how he's just like a sociopath and just doesn't care about anything or anyone. I like that kind of relationship.
There's substance in the movie.
Hierarchies that form. And
there's
like
tons
that.
of substance in the movie. There's things about it that I like, but I almost like more in the context of a conversation about the film than I do watching the film. You know? Yeah.
You do have to bring up the question of I think it was in one of the Mark Kermode books I read. He was talking about reading films over watching them. And I do feel like it's one of those for me where it kind of, I found myself reading it and just falling into it that way, maybe, as opposed to getting enjoyment from watching it. And is enjoyment even the right word? Like it's not even really looking for your enjoyment. It's just kind of, it is what it is. It's putting it out there.
I mean, I love Jean Dielman. I love that movie. And the second time I watched it, I loved it much more than the first, and I might love it even more on my third, you know? Like, there's nothing in that film that is just so irritating and grating that they would put in there. There's nothing in that film that makes me cringe because of how bad it is. There's maybe one effect, I'm not going to say what it is, it's a spoiler, but there's one moment where I'm like, that could have been done a little bit better, but that's about it. In the entirety of the film. Whereas in Bela Tarr's films, this one also, it's just I love, if I'm going to see a movie like this, if I'm going to see a movie that's 7 hours, 19 minutes long, black and white, very slow and methodical, the implication of having something that's slow and methodical like this, I would love to see something where there's an overwhelming sense of control from the director, intent and control and precision. That's what I'd love to see if this type of tone or style is going to be reflected. And I just don't get that watching Bela Tarr's films. Again, as I mentioned, the longer that I look at a shot, the more the phoniness reveals itself. There was another shot with the doctor looking through the binoculars and that like border cut out of like the binoculars thing. And if the shot wasn't so long, then I might just be like, oh, interesting. This is from this guy's perspective over here, and it would happen quickly enough for me not to notice the inherent phoniness of it. But because it went on for so long, I'm like, how the hell are you getting this angle from your desk? Shouldn't we see like a bit of the window in there? How come like nobody's ever held binoculars this still in their entire lives? This is obviously just a Steadicam, right? Like this is not a Steadicam. This is obviously a tripod shot, right? Like there's not a single person that has ever held binoculars that still ever. It's not possible. He's just moving like so steadily from side to side, getting impossible angles. And then when the shot ends and it cuts to him in his chair, he's just like holding it barely, not even like super firmly in his hands. And I literally just laughed out loud. I was like, ha! Because the reveal was almost like a punchline of like, holy shit, that's actually what the intention was here. Like, oh my God, I was searching for excuses for why this shot would look like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I guess I was supposed to believe this here. Yeah, so call me a nitpicker, whatever, but I like to see films, especially ones with this tone and these implications of like, yes, I'm a 7-hour movie. I would like to see precision. I would like to see control and some sort of meticulous design from the director, and I just don't get that from this director. So sorry, fans of this director. I'll give him one more chance with Workmeister Harmonies, but after that I'm done. I'm never watching a bill. I don't know if the fact that I'm willing to even watch one more is more than he deserves.
I will say I do feel like there is precision there for those visuals, but as far as like the camera movement concerned, it's really and sort of the staging and whatnot. There's some creative, really cool stuff in there.
Yeah. Some of the weather effects were really dope.
There's a quote I saw from the director actually on this kind of note, who said, "We have a story, but I think the story is only a little part of the whole movie," which kind of goes to show, I guess, the thought process of what he was going for, when just how little kind of plot there is, and how much of it's one of those sort of experience movies. And it is one of those movies where if you're inherently more willing to, you're looking for all these things to be like pushed and changed, and to some people
hypnosis.
That's like it's almost like a challenge. It is almost like a form of hypnosis.
It is.
It's messing with your head. It's pushing with certain formulas that you're used to, which are fun to see like pushed to this degree. And so do you think it would just be better if it was trimmed down, if it was just straight up
a fucking 4-hour movie would be
even
so much better, and it would still be even a 5-hour movie. It would still like make its point about, you can still make your point about like the order of cinema, and have the one scene be shot reverse shot while everything else is like slow and methodical. You can still retain that style without dragging things out for so long. I've seen so many movies that have that style and are making that same point, even some, that don't need to be this long. And again, the length is not an issue. It's the fact that the length isn't justified really at all. It's they didn't use the length in any kind of useful, purposeful, meaningful way that couldn't be done the same with a 5-hour movie. So
Casino is one of my favorite movies. That movie's 3 hours long. Very different film, much faster paced, but same, like, I don't mind a long movie or a show. I just thought this was a little out there for me. That's my experience, though. Like, I like watching it all the way through. I don't even know if it's designed to be viewed that way. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like designed to kind of not be enjoyable in a weird way. But that's also where its value lies. It's really, really interesting in that way.
As a piece of art, it's valuable to some extent.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can see how some people could really connect with this director. Like, if I believed that everything that Bela Tarr was doing was genuine, then maybe, sure. But I don't know. He lies about the cat shit. He lies about his hairline. He's just like a dishonest director.
I'd probably watch Gene Dielman over this.
Hell yeah.
Just because it's shorter.
There's a billion reasons why I would watch Jean Dielman.
Yeah,
over
there's
this.
A few reasons.
It's much more well made.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah.
There's much more to read into, even, honestly, thematically. But again, like, who knows? Like, this is the problem with this movie is like, it's a film that I feel like I could get more out of on a second watch for the reasons that I enjoy it. And as before I started ranting and yelling about the movie, I was saying some positive things and noting some of the thematic and purposeful shots, blah, 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 blah. I could get more out of this movie by watching it a second time, but its abrasive nature is preventing me from ever wanting to do that. Like, I'm never going to watch this movie a second time. It was not just a chore, it was painful. It was genuinely painful for me to get through. I can't believe people can listen to the same music loop over and over and over like that and not get irritated. I don't understand if people just don't, if there's like a sense missing, or if I'm just hypersensitive to something. Like, I really genuinely don't understand. But it's like hell for me.
It is asking a lot of the audience. I do struggle in terms of, unless you have like a movie podcast where you can recommend it to like movie fans who are willing to dive into something like this. You know, they have to acknowledge that fact that, I mean, look at how many ratings it has on IMDb. It's got like 10,000 ratings. Like, it's inherently going to put people off. But that doesn't necessarily, you know.
Well,
yeah, this is his masterpiece, and like, still barely anyone's seen it. Whatever. 5 out of 10. A lot of things about it that I really respect and admire. A lot to read into about it. Pretty ballsy, ambitious, but just one of the worst experiences I could sit through, and I'm never going to watch it again, and half of it was bullshit, and people are reading into it too much. 5 out of 10.
I definitely liked it more than you. I'm more on a 3-star or a 3.5 star from this. I feel like it reaches really high highs, but it also does drag, and I'm not fully sold on that runtime. It is asking just so much of the audience. Whereas, like, you know, we've seen films like Come and See, which deal with like extremely heavy subject matter in political times, which are, you know, heavy and get across the similar kind of tone. Or if you're looking for environments and kind of interesting shots like this, you could watch like a Stalker, you know, which is rooted in a, you know, a similar kind of background too. So it just doesn't reach the heights of what it like could go for. But I don't know. I a lot of the imagery is like ingrained into my head at this point, and I am thinking about it more and more. But yeah, I'm stuck on how attached or how much I am putting on it, as you were saying, and how much the community for this film is like imposing things onto it because of the open nature and its open structure and its kind of lack of a clear plot and the traditional elements you'd expect from a narrative. But yeah, anyone who's read the book, let me know in the comments. I'm curious if some of these criticisms are addressed or whatnot.
Kind of defines a rating for me. This one. I'd probably be around you guys, 5 or 6 out of 10. Yeah, I just don't feel strongly about it, and yeah, I'm like in the middle of you two somewhere. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's fucking 7 hours long. Like, holy shit.
Honestly, yeah, whatever. It was on your watch list already. I'm glad we got to see it. It was.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had to pull the Band-Aid off at some point, you know.
Yeah, I'm really glad
it took 7 hours, but you had to do it.
I can't say I was paying attention like all the way.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I don't blame you either.
Yeah, I was honestly hoping for something a bit more less boring.
You could like take a nap and wake up and it would still be on.
Yeah.
Not that I did. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah. Actually, going back to something you mentioned earlier, Ralph, in terms of describing it as an epic, I would say it's kind of epic directing.
Yeah, for sure.
But the story is actually it's fairly small scale, which I wasn't expecting, because reading kind of the descriptions of it being like about the fall of communism around that time, I thought it was going to be way more like an epic and that kind of scale about maybe the politics of the time, or, you know, not for it to be as sort of vague as it wound up being and kind of meandering on purpose type thing.
It's epic in its length.
Yeah, for sure.
It has a sense of epicness. Maybe it doesn't live up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. This is an interesting recommendation.
Yeah.
Had to do it.
I've seen it.
Sure.
Had to fucking do it.
Had to.
Question time.
Okay, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community. If you want to leave your own questions for us to answer, head over to the subreddit where there is a suggestion thread where you can ask whatever you feel like, just like Candied Unicorn did, who says, what are your thoughts on the great lengths people went to try and figure out major plot and character details for Spider-Man No Way Home? Personally, I don't see the point in watching the trailers for a movie I already know I'm going to see, but it seems like some people just want to read an entire plot synopsis in advance.
Mm-hmm. Some people are so excited. I understand that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Not so much now, but when I was a kid, I got really excited for movies. I'd watch the trailers a lot. It's just like, I don't know. They like Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a very marketable character. I mean, you can't blame people. I understand it.
Does this come from like the fan culture of like breaking down trailers and sharing all these screenshots?
The movie wants you to do it. So
yeah, I don't really mind it. Yeah, the movie wants you to do it, right? That's why they're like making these things public, because they want a reaction, right? Yeah, I don't really have an issue with it.
Yeah, I don't understand people who read scripts for things that aren't out yet that they're going to see anyway. That's a weird one to me.
Or like plot leaks or whatever.
People who read like the Hateful Eight script when that
like Hateful Eight.
It's like, what are you excited for then? If you're not, like, I don't know. It's so weird.
Well, so, there are people that like will search out spoilers for themselves. They like spoilers. They want things spoiled before they watch something.
Yeah,
it's like a type of person. I'm just the total opposite. I just the like less stuff you know about the story, the more chances it has to surprise you. Especially with how bad like so much marketing is, and especially how bad the marketing is for these Spider-Man movies in particular. I think Sony's really terrible for it, like specifically.
Yeah.
Their posters are the worst. I don't know who's in charge of that. Is it if it's Marvel or Sony?
Their posters are the worst. All their trailers are the worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man
give away too
suit's
much.
the worst.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the suit. Yeah.
It looks bad.
The original suit looks better. The original suit's better.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Tobey one is top. It's top tier.
Yeah, they gave Spider-Man the Deadpool eyes.
Yeah,
I don't mind that aspect. I mind it just looks a little too cartoonish. The suit looks too cartoonish. Like it looks CG even when it isn't.
Well, it always looks CG. Yeah, it doesn't look like present in the environment.
Yeah,
it's really distracting.
Though the original one's really fucking cool. That suit, it's like fucking awesome. That's like the only way to describe the Spider-Man suit. Like the original one, there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfect.
Okay.
People are excited for the movie. And we'll talk about it next episode because we're recording this episode and the next one fairly early because of Christmas stuff.
Quandale Dingle has one for us. What are your thoughts on Taika Waititi adapting the Incal graphic novel by Jodorowsky into film? If you guys do not know, the graphic novel is a lot of Jodorowsky utilizing all his unused ideas for his unmade Dune film. Do you ever think anything will come of this? I feel like Taika Waititi keeps being attached to these big projects that just kind of go nowhere or fall through.
When was the last time that happened?
Wasn't he attached to Akira?
Oh, was he?
He did an Akira. He was supposed to be doing like a live action Akira.
Yeah,
that's weird.
But isn't that?
That is weird, isn't it? I don't think that's gone anywhere.
I don't even think he's like the best director anyway.
Really.
Like, so if I hear him attached to like a Jodorowsky concept,
no offense, Alex. I'm sorry.
No, I'm kind of. I
know he's a Kiwi.
Like, I'm not particularly excited for. Yeah, I'm not particularly excited for a Taika Waititi adaptation of a Jodorowsky concept. That doesn't sound like something that jumps out to me as like, oh, this will be great. Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, especially if it's a graphic novel, I'd want to see someone with more of an animation background maybe do it. Or...
Yeah, I'm not even saying this condescending. Like, just Taika Waititi, stick to the Thor movies. I mean, you got a good gig there. Just make Thor movies.
Forever.
Why does he have
Jojo
why does he have to do anything else?
Stick to being Hitler.
Stick to being Hitler. Yeah, I forgot he did that movie.
It was good.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame if it's the only way that this graphic novel will see the big screen, then I suppose I can get behind it.
Is it even being turned into a film?
Oh yeah, I suppose they're just saying adapting. It might be like some...
It could be like a web series.
Yeah. It's just an IMDb web series hidden away.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not inherently turned on to the idea just because of Waititi's name being thrown in the bucket.
Yeah, I haven't read the.
Yeah, I don't even think it's gonna happen. It could, but
yeah, probably not.
I think it'll go the way of the Akira movie, and he should just make Thor. Is it Thor 3 or 4? Thor 4.
Thor.
Just make Thors. Just do Thors. That's it. That's all you need to do.
For Thor.
Just make Thor.
Yeah.
We have this one here from Goodbye to the Beat, which is a bit shocking. Hey guys, I discovered the show after I was arrested for possession and had to do many hours of service work for the county jail. I live in a state where incarceration is basically a replacement for rehabilitation. Anyways, during my service hours, I listened to every episode of Sardonicast that was out at the time.
Jesus Christ.
And I can confidently say it really helped me get through some tough times. What's it like being in a position where your work can affect people in deeply positive ways that you couldn't imagine or predict? Does it affect your work or audience interaction in any way? Love from Texas.
No,
Holy
makes me
shit.
feel good. Yeah, I was gonna say, where is he from? Texas. Yeah, that's fucked up.
That is fucked up.
Possession
Yeah,
of what?
I don't know.
Because if it's weed, then it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel bad.
Yeah,
if
if
it's
it's
child porn,
possession
then
of
I'm
me-
like, get back in jail.
If you're in possession of
Yeah,
like a
true,
human
true.
being, if you're
We're gonna
smuggling
assume
women, like, across
we're
the
gonna
border.
assume they were talking about weed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Yeah,
to.
that's what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I
said.
didn't mean to
I'm
throw
assuming
that
they were talking- no, I'm
accusation.
glad you
I'm just making a
clarified.
Yeah,
hypothetical.
some drugs or something. Yeah. I just think that's funny.
Yeah, I assume the same thing. Fuck.
Let's assume it's
Yeah,
weed.
clearly it makes us feel
Yeah.
great. I don't know. Yeah, it makes me feel great that people watch a show and they look forward to it and they're happy listening to it, and it distracts them from like the aspects of their lives they may not find so great. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
great, and I hope his service is up, or it's done, or it's up soon. I didn't hear the whole question exactly, but
Mhm.
yeah, I hope he's hopefully done with that shit soon,
Yeah.
because that's kind of fucked up. Yeah.
It's the worldly nature of it I like.
Mhm.
Just, your voice going all around the world and people from all different backgrounds hearing it and getting little anecdotes like this are like, wow, that's some crazy stuff.
Yeah. It's I think it's particularly fitting for like the podcast format too, because people
For
can
sure.
live their lives while incorporating that. I mean, some people say that they do
Yeah.
that to my YMS reviews. I would prefer for people to watch them because I put a lot of work into the visual aspect of it, but
Mm-hmm.
you can't force people to watch something in the way that you want them to. Sorry, David Lynch and who else? I don't know. A bunch of people.
Me.
Yeah, the podcast format helps that out a lot. And I don't make it with that in mind. I don't think like, yes, I am providing therapy for someone right now. But it is a nice thing to know.
Mhm.
My music, I would say, is the exception to that, where it literally is therapy. But that's more for me. And if other people get that out of it too, then that's a good thing. But it's not necessarily for other people. But I do have that in mind with my music, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Alex C has one for us. Hey gang, I recently saw the list of the top 5 highest grossing films of the year. They are number 1, The Battle at Lake Changjin, a Chinese film. Number 2, Hi Mom, a Chinese film. Number 3, No Time to Die, James Bond.
Mhm.
Number 4, F9 The Fast Saga. And number 5, Detective Chinatown 3, a Chinese film. So in the top 5 highest grossing films worldwide, 3 are mainland Chinese. How do all of you feel about this, and does this say anything about the current state of Hollywood today?
Well, those 3 films weren't made in Hollywood then. I mean, but you can draw conclusions about what Hollywood is catering towards now, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have any of you guys seen this Battle at Lake Changjin
No.
movie yet?
No,
I've heard about it.
So are these like Hollywood produced movies, and they're like,
No.
or they made in
I guess
China?
they're asking, what it...
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
think
they're
they
asking
are.
about the implication
China.
for Hollywood.
Yeah, China has its own like industry now, and obviously
Yep.
a huge population of people go see movies, right? So that's part of it.
They've embraced capitalism while pretending to embrace communism.
Mhm.
They turned the blinker left
Basically.
and then made a right turn. So yeah, they're a part of the global market for films. There's a gigantic Chinese population. A lot of them watch movies.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, if the objective is to make money, then you cater towards that audience. If Netflix is trying to make a movie that a bunch of Americans want to see, they put Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, and Gal Gadot in it, and it works. The types of things I want to see and experience are rarely the same as everybody else's. So I don't see a lot of money put
Red
into
Notice. That shows, like, I mean, American culture and people in America, or just like Western culture, it's very different now. We have streaming and we watch movies on streaming. Like that Red Notice movie. That might have been one of the highest grossing movies of the year at some point, but instead it's on Netflix and people digest it that way through streaming. And many movies come out that way in TV. And, you know, maybe in China it's not the same way. I'm not sure. But there's definitely, like, there's a huge presence of that in America with Disney Plus and Amazon and all that. Those tech companies kind of pushing their stuff too. They're in competition with Hollywood also, you know. Hollywood has a lot of competition. I think it's not like they're the only game in town anymore, like they were for a long time. And like they're the only ones making movies, you know. It's not just like those major studios anymore, like Warner Brothers and Disney and 20th Century Fox. There's a little more competition now. What do you think this means for the future? Is every movie good, like every like big budget movie, going to be made for China?
At least with them in mind. I mean, it's not even the future; it's just currently happening.
Yeah, I feel like that began 10 plus years ago, right?
And just even different cultures in different countries. Like Chris Nolan talked about how much he loved filming in India for Tenet. Like, he might make a movie in India. He might make a Bollywood movie. You know, like, who the fuck knows?
Like,
maybe somewhere down the road. He could, you know. But it shows the you know, where audiences are and what kind of audiences want to go to theaters specifically, and you know, the kind of movies you make for that theater experience. You know, it's very different now. We're more like watching movies on streaming. We like dramas. We like an action movie too, but you know, a theater movie is usually very like sensational, high budget kind of stuff. And I think that does really well in China now.
Yeah, I'm really hoping, and like if I see one type of movie that I want being pushed by Hollywood and China, I want to see a lot of money in 7-hour-long black and white films. I think that would be a really good way to take the market. If the top 5 grossing movies of the year were all 7+ hour black and white art house films, I think people would be happier.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think you're right.
This year there was a lot of like Chinese films in, you know, America, like through the Hollywood system, like Shang-Chi, Eternals, directed by Chloe Zhao.
Those aren't
which we had criticism
Chinese films.
No, those aren't Chinese, but they're like they have Chinese actors in them or Chinese directors.
They're made with the market in mind, like fucking Mulan.
Yeah, Mulan was a bad one.
Oh, it's even just like Hollywood accepting China into its, you know, into its grasp or whatever you want to say. But yeah, it's like these Chinese, you see the Chinese film influence in American movies with Eternals and with Shang-Chi. I'd say Shang-Chi's much better. I think Eternals is a piece of shit. But that's me. Yeah. So it's definitely impacting things. I think it'll impact things more in the future.
Yeah, we're seeing it already.
Yeah.
Yeah, need more data, more time to pass.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how things go. I mean, like, as a person that doesn't live in the United States, I already see discrepancies in terms of, like, what films are marketed here versus, like, you know, I can drive 3 hours south, get to Seattle, and I see movie theaters playing, like, weird, like, religious movies, you know? like, what was that? Heaven is for real or God's not dead? Like, those movies, like, they don't even try to put them in Canadian theaters for the most part. Like, you don't see marketing for them here. It's just like, oh, this is America. Tyler Perry movies, that's another one. Those are American movies, you know? So, like, there's already, like, discrepancies in terms of, like, what films are popular in what countries. It is, I guess, just a newer thing to have American movies trying to, I guess, be sellable in multiple markets at once. And then you see things like Disney censoring, you know, no ghosts, no gays sort of thing.
Right.
For China.
Chinese movies overtaking Hollywood movies in the box office, like we saw. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Fucking
I think a lot of, like, you know, like American people or audiences, maybe they're afraid of getting sick because of COVID, all that. I'm sure that's affected theaters over the past couple of years. I think Alex, you said, like, people sardining in a theater. It's kind of an outdated concept now. I'm like, yeah, I definitely get that. I don't know how it is in China, though. It could be a completely different environment. Who the fuck knows? I'm not from there.
Yeah.
Clearly, people aren't deterred from going to a theater in China because movies are making fucking ton of money.
Yeah, tons of money.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
They probably have like also very stringent, not only vaccine and mask protocols. They probably take everybody's temperature going into the movie and like scan their ID and social credit score to the point where it's like their rights are being taken away. But that's probably how they're doing it. You know, like I've seen some clips of people in China, like even to get to like some outdoor venue, you have to get like your temperature checked and show your thing, and like it's like this is outside. But
yeah, don't they have like special built like social media like platforms just for like China and stuff? It's all very scary.
Yeah,
it's the season 3 premiere of Black Mirror with Bryce Dallas Howard.
Shit, yeah, basically. Well, while we're on this topic, there's this one from a fretful porcupine who says, "Hey boys, have you ever seen any movies in theater in a foreign country and experienced something different you wouldn't in your own countries? Here's an anecdote for you. I went to Bangkok a few years back and went to a theater to see Dunkirk. Right before the movie started, the audience was made to stand up in honor of the recently deceased king, which was strange for an American-Mexican dual citizen like me. I also saw an old white man walk in with a Thai boy who couldn't have been older than 15. Lord knows what they're up to."
Holy shit.
Jesus.
Holy fuck. That's terrible.
I haven't experienced something that crazy. But I saw, it was that second Spider-Man movie when I was in like Greece or something. And they'd mistranslated the titles. So instead of Far From Home, it was like Spider-Man Away From His Place, which was quite funny.
Yeah, certain American theaters, they have like fucking beds in them, basically. Some of the AMCs, it's just like a level of comfort and luxury that should not exist. Just, I've seen a few theaters. And then the, what's it called? The Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. Love that. But yeah, mostly just in terms of like the consumerist aspect, I would say, in America. I don't know if audiences are that radically different than Canada for watching the film.
Mm-hmm.
Have you never been to like what's the clapping situation like in Canada? Does it depend on the movie? Because it's like very rare to get a reaction, but the vibe I get is that you get way more engagement in an American crowd.
Yeah, American crowds do more clapping, and it's mostly for like superhero movies. Like I was actually imagining, I don't know if I told you this or not, but I was imagining when I was watching Spencer with Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
What's her name?
Kristen Stewart.
I was imagining, because like she's a Twilight girl, and we had just gotten out of seeing, I think we were seeing Eternals the same day. I don't remember. But I was just imagining, like, what if we swapped audiences here and the expectations, and as soon as Kristen Stewart jumps on the screen in Spencer, people go like, woo! Like, I was just, I really wanted to do that, but I didn't. I held myself back. I didn't want to disturb the movie for people. But I was just like, yeah, it's not just certain audiences, but it's certain types of films, too. It draws a certain type of crowd. Superhero movies, you're going to see that a lot more of that in.
I've never been to a theater outside of America, I don't think. They don't speak, I've been to like Mexico, Italy. They don't speak English. Like, why would I go see a movie? Like, it's probably fucking like a different language.
Well, some of them are American movies. They'll just have Spanish subtitles or something.
Yeah, they'll maybe put the subtitles, but, I wasn't sure. If I ever visited,
accidentally see a dub.
If I go to Canada again, or if I ever go to London, like, yeah, I'd go see a movie there. We're like an English-speaking country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got to make sure you don't go into a theater that has the British dub, though. Because you'll need subtitles.
That just makes it's English, but it's just much harder to understand.
Oh, that would be so good. British dubs. Get on it, Alex. You can make a killing.
Should I dub Sátántangó?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Let's do this one from Synecdoche239. Excluding the bad/meh ones in Mississippi Grind, which A24 movie would The Rock and /or Ryan Reynolds fit best in? No, they cannot be background characters/extras. They can either play a new character or replace one of the current actors. Example, Ryan Reynolds can play a new character in Good Time or replace Robert Pattinson as Conor Nicholas. Jesus Christ.
If you took
funny.
Dwayne Johnson and made him the cow in First Cow, it would be a better movie.
What about The Lighthouse with The Rock and fucking
Oh,
Ryan
God.
Reynolds?
Oh, no. Don't say that. I'm just imagining like the fucking
like a good like duo
pirate monologue with Dwayne. Hark!
Yeah,
He wouldn't
like
do an
Swiss
accent,
Army
he'd
Man,
just- yeah.
Swiss Army Man with the two of them.
Oh,
or,
God.
I don't know.
See, Swiss Army Man probably would work the best out of all those. Tone-wise?
Yeah, with them because it's more of a comedy. Yeah, Lighthouse is a comedy too, which is not a.
The Witch?
Yeah. Make Ryan Reynolds like Black Phillip or the Goat.
Sure.
You could do like a Midsummer one, like The Rock, and I'm going to replace Ryan Reynolds with Kevin Hart and have the like relationship drama be around them beefing.
In what?
Midsummer.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Sure. But Kevin Hart doesn't want to play a gay character because people will think he's gay.
Oh shit, you're right. I
So
forgot
you
about
can't
that.
have that.
Okay, Ryan Reynolds. It has to be Ryan Reynolds then. Sorry, guys.
All right, I think we got time for one more.
Okay, let's end on this one from Buster was a great dog. What's the funniest reaction you've gotten after telling someone what you do for work? I'll often just lie and say I'm in IT, and people quickly stop asking questions.
That's
If you
funny.
wanna quickly end it. That's that's a good little trick if you ever want to escape.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I say like I do podcasting. That's it. I just leave it there.
Yeah. Sometimes I just say like I'm a YouTuber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can
Make
see that
YouTube
too.
videos.
But I feel like once that comes out, then the questions begin. So it's like a whole, depending on who you're talking to,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a very uncommon position. Like, how do you do YouTube? What do you do? How do you make money?
Yeah,
Then,
the
like,
questions, the
Yeah.
landslide begins.
Yeah.
usually very complicated.
I would like to have this same I would like to be a fly on the wall for the same conversation, but Mr. Avocado explaining what he does on YouTube. Yeah, I eat and cry and fart and yell.
We should have him as a
probably get some
guest.
good
We
answers.
mention him a lot.
Oh man.
Yeah, what do you think his favorite movie is?
That's a great question. I don't know if Mr. Avocado has time for movies in his busy eating
He's
and
never
crying
seen
and
a single
farting
movie.
schedule. Though.
It's just
He
Chef.
seems-
That's his
He
favorite
seems
movie.
like he's got his schedule packed as it is.
Super size me chef. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never gotten like a super funny reaction or anything. Occasionally somebody will be like it'll be really clear that they're just like, "Oh, that's so easy." And I won't say anything, but I'm just like, "Oh, why don't you do it?"
Yeah,
What
do
are you
it
doing?
then if it's so easy.
Just do it. Just do it then. All right, I think that's it. Do you guys have anything else to say
That's
on it?
it.
I think I'm good.
I guess not.
Bazinga. All right, it's
That's
Ralph's
it.
turn to recommend a film, and it's not going to be
It's
7
my turn?
hours because we only have a week to watch it because we're recording some stuff early because of Christmas. That's the reason why we did a 7-hour one last time, by the way. Everybody who was commenting, how come we weren't allowed to recommend trilogies for the for the episode 100, but Adam recommended a 7-hour.
Yeah,
It's like,
timing.
yeah, well, sometimes we have more time than other times, and I wasn't about to watch. There were 2 recommendations. We could have had 2
It's
trilogies.
not their podcast.
It was, yeah,
Sorry,
it's
it's
not
not,
a fucking podcast.
it's not
I didn't want to
your
watch
podcast.
6 movies while I'm trying to show Alex my hometown or whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, anyway,
Yeah.
go for it, Ralph.
Yeah. I'm gonna recommend a light one for everybody. A friend of mine and me talk about this for a while.
Perfect.
Like, yeah, I should recommend it. We're gonna recommend Supergirl from 1984. Supergirl.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
okay.
Yeah.
From 84, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, I found it.
1984.
Faye Dunaway.
Oh,
Yeah.
this looks spicy.
Okay, cool. I'm hyped, actually.
The legend begins.
4.4
You guys never seen
IMDb, 42 Metascore. This looks dope.
The superior movie that started it all.
1.9 on Letterboxd.
Hell yeah. Okay, this looks fun. I'm
That
excited.
says it all.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Ralph coming in to save us from another Sátántangó.
From Bellatar, whatever.
Yeah, another Bellatar film.
It'll be a superhero movie double episode then.
Oh my god, yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man next week also. Maybe, I don't know. We only have a week, but we'll all see it before then. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to be spoiled for 1984's Supergirl, watch it before the next episode. These episodes come out every 2 weeks. You can listen to them early as they're edited by going to patreon.com/Sardonicast or sardonicast.com and sign up for premium. Only $2 a month. Also, we got merch, and Christmas is coming very soon. Holy crap. By the time this episode's out, it'll like pretty much be... I think it'll be after Christmas, but never mind. We're recording some stuff. I've given you plenty of warning. You should have bought it already, okay? It's your fault if your nephew is going to cry right now because they don't have the Sardonicast t-shirt. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Happy Shrek. I know Kung Fu. Yeah. I don't know. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.